Good morning. Welcome to CareerForce and More for Employers Session 2. So glad to have everyone on this call. CareerForce and More for Employers as a series is a way for us to share all of the links and information, the people and the resources that are available to you, the employer, all across the state. Last week, we started with information on where are all the job seekers, some of the more recent labor market data, and then some of our top hits for our CareerForceMN.com site and our CareerForce information, how we're structured. Today in session 2, we're going to go deeper into relationship recruiting. How do you use all of the lists and the contacts of all of the people in our CareerForce system to help you promote your company's brand, to promote your positions, to engage in deep relationships so that you are able to find new employees. Next week, we'll be going on to minnesotaworks.net and really using that more deeply. Session 4 on November 16th, we'll talk about leading with inclusion to reach both people with job seekers who have a disability of some sort, or our newest Americans, our immigrant job seekers. And then we'll go on to retention and job quality in session 5, and session 6 talk about some of our federal programs, federal bonding, work opportunity tax credit, and second chance hiring. So glad to have you on here. CareerForce is Minnesota's network of private, public, and nonprofit partners. We're all aligned. Some of them might be run by state employees. Some of them might be run by nonprofits such as Rural Minnesota Concentrated Employment or Workforce Development, Inc. And some might be run by county services like Anoka County or Dakota County. But we are all one network committed to serving individuals find jobs, and employers like yourself committed to helping you recruit, attract, and retain talent. I'm Liz Jennings, Employer Engagement Specialist. I'm available at any time to talk with you, as is my coworker, Tom Reese, who's on the call today, as is our CareerForce information and assistance line, a fantastic team of folks that will respond to you via email or via telephone between 8 and 4:30 Monday through Friday. So our contact information is on the screen. Please contact us at any point. But today, Tom Reese, my coworker with 30 years experience in the workforce and CareerForce systems, is going to lead you through a little bit more deeply on how you use all of our resources. So community partners, we've got workforce development boards in every county in the state. We've got dislocated worker providers. We've got adult basic education providers. We've got training program nonprofits, and so many other teams that are here to help you get connected with their job seekers. We're going to talk a little bit how relationship recruitment works when accessing those resources. We're going to touch a little bit more on your messaging and how you can really lead with your brand. And then remind you about all of our hiring and our networking and our job fair resources that you can use and get involved with. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Tom. Good morning. And I'm going to stop sharing my slides and go over to CareerForceMN.com. So if you, the listener, have an extra screen, feel free to open your browser and navigate through all of our CareerForceMN.com resources. Good morning, Tom. Take it away.
Thank you, Liz. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Liz and I are thrilled that you've taken some of your schedule and time to join us, and thank you for doing that. Um, my approach this morning is going to be talking to you as if Liz or I would be conducting a consultation with you. Essentially, what we do is we connect with employers and simply become available to answer questions around recruitment. Obviously, the most popular question that we're asked about. So this morning, I'd like to just sort of go through a mock kind of consultation and what you could expect. And hopefully we'll answer some of your questions as well. So as Liz mentioned, I've been around a long time. She had mentioned 30 years in the employment and training field, and have had countless opportunities to meet with people like yourselves, employers, as well as job seekers at one point. And I think that the first point I want to bring up is Liz and I see ourselves as your single point of contact. Um, as all of you know, the state of Minnesota employs thousands of people to do various tasks. And as an employer, you may feel like, I don't know where to begin, or my time is valuable. I don't have a lot of time to figure out who to connect with. So when it comes to recruiting, working with employers, accessing our services, suggestion would be you can always start with Liz and myself. And I think Liz posted our emails at the beginning. We can probably repost that toward the end of this presentation as well. So this morning, what I'd like to do is talk about some of the ways for you as an employer to be able to connect with job seekers, to be able to fill all those positions that we're aware that are open these days. Last week, Tim O'Neill told us our current unemployment rate is 3.1% in the state of Minnesota. To me, that suggests needing to be, if you're an employer, you certainly need to be thinking about how can I be creative when it comes to recruitment. Today's labor market is a very challenging one. I don't need to tell you that, but we're certainly working with employers to figure out, excuse me, best strategies when it comes to connecting with job seekers. So to begin with, and the slide was up a little while ago, we were talking about or posting their workforce boards. Those are 16 boards that are made up of both employers and service providers or community providers. You'll find those throughout the state. And Liz is pulling up the website now, so you would be able to locate your local workforce board. Suggestion there would be, depending on the kind of time you have to be able to commit to working with our services and enhancing your outreach, you might consider joining one of those boards. Once you connect with the board member, usually the chair, they can help you navigate how to successfully join that group. Why would you want to do that? Because those are the folks that are making decisions around funding, extending programs, creating new programs. Those are all hidden resources for talent, because these are programs that are providing services to folks who are looking for jobs. So think about joining a workforce board at some point if you have that opportunity. Dislocated worker, very big program. Many times employers are at least aware of the title, but they're not really sure how it works. One of the more popular questions that we get is, how do I connect with people that have been laid off from other positions? The company downsized, it went offshore. So job seekers are now available and they have similar talents and abilities, the kind of people I am looking for as an employer. So connecting with the dislocated worker program is another option. Once again, Liz is tracking right with me here, what a team we have. And she's pulled up the dislocated worker website. So the idea there would be to locate your provider in your area, and then reach out to them and say, look, here's the kind of talent we're looking for. Um, would like to be able to access individuals that you're currently working with. They might be currently involved in some sort of training program, so they're experiencing skills upgrades, and then they're ready to go back to work. That's where you would come in as an employer and be able to make that opportunity happen for them. So a little bit about dislocated worker programs. We also get involved with training providers, or partners, excuse me. So Adult Basic Ed is a major partner of CareerForce. Typically, adult basic education programs are administered through school districts. So once again, if you reach out to your local school district, introduce yourself, ask who the adult basic ed supervisor is for the district, and then reach out to them. Maybe better yet, actually go to their program and present there. I can tell you from personal experience, participants in adult basic ed are fantastic individuals who are extremely dedicated to their families, retooling their skills, and particularly going back to work or going to work. They may be underemployed, so they're looking for better opportunities. But great people to work with. You would have access to be able to talk to that group. Once again, another hidden talent pool of individuals that you could access as an employer. There are others as well. We talk about tailored resources. For example, veteran services. Liz and I get questions all the time about how to connect with America's biggest talent pool, veterans and even their families. How do we connect with those individuals? Well, we have vet reps that work for us. They have thousands of veterans that are connected with them, working and looking for work. So once again, reaching out to CareerForce, requesting how to connect with veteran services, or go to the website, as once again Liz is tracking and putting up for you there. But that's a very popular question that we're asked all the time. Along with veteran services, vocational rehabilitation services, serving individuals with a disability. Great talent pool, once again, maybe not always thought of, but we have access to providers, we have staff that work with individuals that you could connect with. The state services for the blind, justice-involved providers, youth. Our today's youth is looking for work sometimes earlier than we used to. They may choose to go right to work as opposed to continuing their education. So once again, you absolutely should be seeing us as a conduit to these programs. I'm moving on here because I've got a lot to talk about, and people that know me would say, really? Tom has a lot to say? Well, I do. I'm pretty passionate about this whole topic, and so really appreciate you joining me this morning talking about this. And by the way, gentle reminder, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll look at those, and hopefully we can address some of those questions toward the end of the presentation. The next area I'd like to talk with you about is relationship recruitment. It's a term that I came up with years ago. It's not obviously my term, but it's something that I really value and suggest employers need to pay as much attention to as possible. Well, what is relationship recruitment? It's about going to the programs, as I've already mentioned, and the websites that Liz has pulled up for you, and getting to know your community providers, reaching out to them and saying, you know what, you may have been by our building 100 times, but you didn't really know what we did there. Here's what we do. There's the products or services we deliver, but more importantly, I'd like to talk with you more about our culture. In today's labor market, culture from the job seeker side is extremely critical to pay attention to. Um, as you notice, there's a lot of job seekers out there that you're trying to approach, and they're maybe not as quick to follow up. Well, I believe it's because they're looking for work-life balance more so now than ever before. So the best way to connect with individuals and have that conversation is to be able to reach out to the programs, get to a point where a service provider will call you or email you and say, I have a participant I would love to refer to you. Would you be interested in at least talking with them? If it looks like a fit, then we move on to the application process, possibly an interview, and go from there. And hopefully they get hired, and then you onboard them and go from there. So the critical point I'm making this morning to all of the employers in this meeting is concentrating on building relationships with the community and the service providers who are serving people that you want to get to know. So each community is going to have a mix. We have CoreForce, by the way, a little bit more background about CareerForce. We operate close to 50 offices statewide. They are physical locations, so you're able to actually come in and meet with people. You make arrangements to do that. And once again, the opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation with individuals looking for work. But I wanted to reemphasize that the critical piece here is explaining what your culture is like. I'm going to reference back to one of my calls I had about 2 months ago. I absolutely enjoyed the conversation with that employer. I asked him, I said, when you talk to job seekers, what are you talking about? And the standard line for most employers that I've experienced would say, well, we talk about our job opportunities, we talk about the wages, we talk about the education level we're expecting, the work experience we're expecting. And I will then say, but how about the culture? Tell me what it's like to work on location with your company. And they'll say, well, you know, this one particular employer said, we're very family oriented. We very much care about our employees. We have weekly barbecues, obviously not this time of year, but when the weather permits. And a variety of other things. Well, by the time he was done explaining that, which you could tell he was pretty excited to share, I was ready to pack up and move up north and go to work there. I mean, it just sounded like such a nice, fun, enjoyable place to be. Not just work, but to be. And as we all know, we spend a lot of time at work. So it's always a bonus when you're enjoying being there. So once again, that relationship recruitment is about connecting with job seekers who you could then have a conversation with and sell or brand your organization to the point where they understand not only is it a livable wage, there's promotional opportunities, there's career laddering, those kinds of important things, but it's also a great place to come to every day. And here's why we feel that way. The last thing that I want to talk about is about hiring and networking events. Liz does a fantastic job of maintaining a calendar on our website that will list all of the events that at least we're aware of. So if you're working with a staffing service or you're working to create a hiring event, feel free to connect with Liz so that we can get that posted for you once again, so that job seekers can become aware of the events that you're involved in. So that's part of the message for this morning is to know that we're actively looking for participants, meaning employers, to share their information regarding career fairs, hiring events, um, and feel free to be able to know that those are free services that we deliver. And you're looking at our calendar right now there. And it's a very current calendar. We make sure that it's up to date. So encourage you to list on that calendar. Along with that, I also wanted to quickly mention that I use the word networking events. There is a strategy that Liz and I talk to employers about it quite often, and it's called Explore Careers Events. It's different than a job fair. It's about coming to a site, not necessarily at a career fair or CareerForce location, but could be as well, where you come in as an employer and you participate on an employer panel where once again you engage in a conversation with the audience about your particular company, your sector, and what you're experiencing, and then fielding questions from participants. I, for one, have experienced several of those over the years, including as a host of those events, and it's been extremely helpful to all involved. What you might find when you go to a job fair is that people are rather reluctant to come up to you and talk to you at your table. Part of that is because they may lack confidence. They may not be aware of who you are or what you do. And so I would encourage you to, and I do see more of this now, which is great, having employers actually come out from behind the table and engage in conversation with that job seeker. One of the things that, if you're not doing this, I might suggest you think about doing is when you start with a job seeker, you might say, how can I help you become successful? Hello, how can I help you, become successful in your career journey? Very open-ended question, but it would encourage that individual to actually start sharing, excuse me, what they're actually looking for, and including work environments. So a great door opener, something like that, where instead of necessarily jumping into, here are our positions, I hope you're interested, do you have a resume? It's more about, let's start the conversation together on how we can help each other. And to me, that's the kind of conversations that work really well at a job fair or even at an Explore Careers event. So I think the other term or word that I'd like to share today with you as an employer engaging in these conversations is the word flexibility. Nowadays, when we get feedback from job seekers, and we talk to job seekers all the time, job seekers are saying, I'm looking for flexibility. It's obviously important to make a livable wage, maybe have benefits, depending on that individual situation, but they're also, excuse me, they're also looking at flexibility as well. The opportunity to be able to, when life happens, and you can tell all of us, or you're aware of what I mean by that, things happen. So what will be the outcome when it comes to my employment? So for example, a person has maybe a young child, And that child, obviously they never get sick at a good time. So you get up in the morning and your son or daughter is ill, and so you call into work, hopefully, and you say to your employer, I've got a challenge here. I've got a sick child, not really sure what I'm going to be able to do about it, other than I need to stay home today. Some employers would take that as, well, we need you here. We don't have a backup plan per se. Maybe in production related positions, they need you on the line, which is totally understandable. So what is your response going to be? Because those life experiences are going to happen. And so having that conversation through an informational discussion, well, here's how we handle that. You'll literally see that person become much more relaxed and say, I'm definitely interested in taking this to the next step. What do we do next? I appreciate your response, because sooner or later, those kind of things are going to occur. So you can tell I'm all about relationships, lots of conversation. I realize that takes a lot of time on your end, particularly on the front end. But the good news is that eventually you'll get to a point where service providers will feel very comfortable with reaching out to you and simply saying, based on what I've learned from the past, I have a candidate or maybe 4 or 5 people that come to me that would be a great fit for your organization. So those are the kinds of things I wanted to talk about this morning. I'm cognizant of the time here. We have about 3 minutes left. So I'm going to turn it back over to my friend Liz here. And once again, feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. And thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Liz?
Thank you very much, Tom. And yes, to our listeners, I was putting quite a few of the links in the chat, so hopefully you were able to see those. But I will send out a follow-up email probably by midday tomorrow with all of the rest, all of those links so that you have them in your email. But I encourage everyone to use the chat, or I'm sorry, use the search engine. That always helps us to get directly to what we're looking for, or contact me or Tom or the CareerForce information and assistance line whenever you have questions. So I hope this was helpful. There's so much more on this site, and we recognize that. We do acknowledge within our team that we've got a lot here, and so that's great, and it's a challenge as well. So that's why we're here to help. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Please come back next week. We'll talk about MinnesotaWorks.net and using it more deeply. And thank you to Tom for sharing all of your information and your ideas with us.
See you.
So take care, everyone, and see you next week.